Kevin O'Leary is telling everybody that the future looks to be, let's just say, downsized. He's not saying that we're going to experience a major recession. What he's saying is that what you're going to be able to buy with your money is going to be less. It's going to be smaller. The inflation is already getting under control. It's no longer 8.9%, but I think it came in at right around 3%. And all he's saying is that in an environment when interest rates are high, which they are right now, your money will not go as far. So if you need to go buy a house because you're sick and tired of renting, go ahead, buy one. You're just going to be able to buy less. He's saying especially for those purchases where you end up having to borrow money, for example, a home, for example, a vehicle, you're probably going to end up buying less. And he's saying it's going to be about 20% less. So, if you were thinking when the interest rates were low that you might be able to buy a 2,500 square foot home, let's take 20% off of that. You're down to a 2,000 square foot home. And listen, I agree. In fact, let's take a step back, because who cares what Kevin O'Leary says? Let's take a step back and say you should be doing this anyway. You should not be supersizing everything in life like you do at McDonald's. What you should do is you should really, especially with housing, bring it to the lowest level, the smallest home that you are willing to live in. And here's why I say this. Because I want you to buy a bunch of properties, not just one. I want you to create wealth for yourself and maybe even generations after you. Maybe create generational wealth. And guess how 90% of America's self-made millionaires became millionaires? Guess how? Real estate. So let's talk about this for just a quick second. This is a short video. Basically, I've been talking about this since I got into real estate, which was in 2002, okay? Here's the idea. Instead of buying a home for the maximum amount that you got pre-qualified for, I think what you should do is you should go get pre-qualified, sure, so you know what that maximum number is, but then buy the lowest possible price home that you are willing to live in and hopefully won't get shot in because it's in the wrong neighborhood, okay? Now, I know school districts matter if you have children. I know that your wife may not agree. Maybe your girlfriend will never come visit. Maybe your boyfriend will never come visit. But you should definitely look into how can you get your debt to income ratio the lowest you possibly can. And if you've never heard of the idea of what the heck is a debt to income ratio, this is the ratio that banks use in order to decide if you qualify for a loan. Here's why it's important. If you buy a home, hold on, let's take a step back. If you go get pre-approved and they say, hey, you can buy a $400,000 house, which basically brings you to a 50% debt to income ratio, then you should definitely not do that, because you will not qualify for a second home, in the next year, 2 or 3. But if you get qualified for a $400,000 home at 50% DTI, but you buy something for $200,000, you're probably going to be able to buy a second home within a year or 2 if you have the down payment money. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're trying to, escape the matrix, trying to escape the system, and trying to make wealth for yourself, then owning property, owning real estate is important, okay? This is definitely something that has helped me so much in my life. It's one thing to save $1 million. It's another thing to invest into real estate and allow the appreciation of that real estate to get you to a $1 million net worth. Not that $1 million is a lot anymore, because it's not. And if you think that $1 million is going to be enough to retire, you are smoking crack. It is not. It is not even close to it. In fact, if you have $1 million and you get a 4% return per year on that investment, then that is a pre-tax income of $40,000. And after taxes, you're going to be down to, $28,000 or so. And then you have to pay everything else. So I'm sorry, but you can't really live off of that unless you're in the middle of nowhere, living off grid, growing your own food and, milking your own cows and slaughtering your own chickens. But if you're not one of those people and you just want to try to figure it out how to make it, then buy something something that's going to be the lowest price possible and live there. Downsize yourself, just like Kevin O'Leary is saying, because when the interest rates are high, let's just say right now you get a 7% interest rate and you buy something for $200,000, and then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the interest rates fall drastically to, I don't know, let's just say 4%. You can refinance and you can have a much lower payment. All the while, rent prices go up, and that home, you're going to be able to have a very large number when it comes to your cash flow. Okay, so this is really what I recommend you do, or at least look into it, instead of just going to get pre-qualified and buying whatever the mortgage lender is telling you can get qualified for. Do some number crunching, be a little smarter, go visit the houses for $250,000. There are some in Sarasota, in Florida, where I live, believe it or not. I just toured houses in Venice. One of them was $285,000. It was great. There was nothing wrong with that house. It had plenty of land, enough room to park a boat on the side. It had a carport. It had 2 bedrooms, had a bathroom, remodeled, well, kind of remodeled kitchen, kind of like just, facelift kitchen. Either way, you don't need a freaking 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage in a, gated community when you're 25 starting off. Like, you don't need that. Don't be dumb. Just start doing things to invest into your future. Now, alternatively, and then I'm going to finish, but the alternative thing that you could do is you can go and buy yourself a small multifamily. So let's just say it is $400,000 that you got a pre-approval for. Maybe you could buy something for $450,000, because the income of the second unit, if it's a duplex, is going to be used towards your debt to income ratio. It's going to help you, even though there's going to also be a higher debt because the mortgage is going to be a little higher. That income that you produce from that second unit gets counted towards your income, even though you don't even make that income yet. So I would say in those circumstances, yeah, go ahead and get the $400,000 loan, but buy something that's, that's going to pay you. Right? That's like Robert Kiyosaki and his definition of assets, right? He says an asset is something that pays you when you buy it. And if you want to know what that is, real estate is something. Real estate pays you when you buy it. I mean, absolutely. If you rent it, but not if you live in it, okay? So that's why you don't want your primary residence to be the biggest dollar purchase that you have. You want to come in at a really low rate. And another thing that might pay you is, well, you could buy, a vehicle that you can rent out. For example, a small little, kind of like a retired U-Haul van or something. Or maybe one of those cement mixers that you've probably seen out there advertised. You can buy those things for $3,000 and probably rent them for about $150 a day, maybe $500 a week, and start making money with that. You can buy things that pay you, and that's what I recommend. Not just make your life all comfortable, especially if you're young, especially if you're under 40. Don't make your life all comfortable by not investing into your future. And look, I know tomorrow's not promised. You only live once. Maybe, just maybe, you might die tomorrow and then regret everything, but you can't count on that. Average lifespan in America for men is, I think, 78 or 79. For women, it's 79 or 80. I mean, you can't count on dying, so living it up every single day like it's your last. You should have some planning. Because I know many people, I know tenants, I've known tenants, people who just worked their whole life, never bought anything that paid them, never bought any assets whatsoever, and now are stuck in a situation you don't want to be in. Seriously, do something and buy stuff that pays you, and start it off by downsizing. Don't get a car loan, buy a car cash. If you don't own 3 properties, don't get a loan on your car. That's what I'm saying.